Let the old YouTube catch up. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, not yet. Come on, YouTube, you can do it. I give up. We are really live, aren't we? Come on. There we go. Okay. Let's find out who's in the workshop today. What's going on? Oh, there we go. Right. Comments have not popped up yet. We've just got lots and lots of adverts. So, just to fill you in while everything sort of sorts itself out, we have got today a Bake Shack steak and mushroom. Now, Mrs. Mechanic came home with this yesterday, and I really thought we'd done this. Now, I may have had one in the past, but we've definitely not scored it, and I haven't done it to camera. So it's not on the list on the door, and new timeout, and we need to do it. So we have a pie, which is great. What's more important is we've got some new equipment for the workshop. Couldn't resist. I know I've got an up and coming woodworking task, and I felt it would actually make it a lot easier. Become a member of this channel. Join now and get access to exclusive perks on the Andy Mechanic channel. Well, I don't think I need to, but others may well. Right, I absolutely need some chat going on here. I don't know what's going on. Bear with me. Got it. Here we go. We have Roger Eaps in the workshop. Good morning, Roger. Welcome back, matey. Good morning, Andy and crew. Jeffrey Boyle. It's a Sunday morning, you'll forgive me. We've got one of those, Peaceman, and we've got a spanner, and we've got, the hell's that? It looks like a stone statue face. I could be wrong. Well, very nice, thank you. Vijayant, good evening, Andy and crew. How is everyone doing watching from South Africa? Well, Vijayant, I'm doing all right, to be perfectly honest. I'm doing okay. Let me just get rid of these adverts. There we go, that's better. Simon, not a pizza oven. Sadly not. We may get one once I finish the deck, which could be next year, or maybe the year after. We'll see how things pan out. Nah, it's got to be done for next year. Mrs. Mechanic has put her foot down and said, the deck at the back of the house has to be finished for next Christmas. She was hoping it would be done for this Christmas. Not going to happen. Simon, morning, Andy and crew, good morning. Simon, welcome back, matey. George Bonnie 90, hello everybody, big thumbs up. Good morning, George, good man. Mike Bazanski, the connoisseur of pies and cider. Good morning from GB. Yes, Mike. Mike has been cruising around the UK, sourcing out some most excellent pies and bespoke cider. What a task. Very, very envious, to be fair. Connor K, good morning. Andy and crew, good morning, Connor. Welcome back, sir. Hope all is well in your part of the world. Right, slurp of cold coffee. So you probably want to know what it is that Andy's bought. Well, you've all seen the thumbnail. So why don't I put it to you? We'll put it out there first. What is it? And for anyone that's used one in the past, and I've never used one in the past, but for anyone that has, I think it's pretty obvious. Those that haven't, pizza oven? Don't know. We'll wait and see what the comments say, and then I'll let you know what it really is, and it will be done on camera. I've finished filming the workstation part 2 video, which was actually filmed over 3, if not 4 separate days of filming. So 3 or 4 separate days of work and snippets of filming throughout those 4 days, in an attempt to try and make that video maybe a little bit more fast-paced, because let's face it, the most recent video that went out, which was went out last night actually, which was the caster realignment kit for the Jimny, which I didn't even know that they even existed for that particular vehicle. Well, that turned out to be quite a long video, didn't it? Hour and 3/4 long or something. My sincere apologies. That wasn't planned. However, the reasoning behind it is it's not often Ben comes down to the workshop, and I enjoy spending time with him. And it's quite nice to try and embed that time in a video, if nothing else, for me and the family to look back on in the future. Because, you know, we're not all going to be here around forever, and it's great to sort of capture that kind of stuff. And Ben's great. You know, when he comes down and helps out, he's very knowledgeable. I like to try and test his knowledge a little bit. I don't like to give everything away and wait for him to chip in and comment, which he does on a regular basis. Plus, he also has some really good ideas. He's a very clever little lad. Little, he's not little anymore, but he used to be. But he's very, very mechanically aware, and often comes up with really good sort of out-of-the-box fixes for things. I wonder where he got that from. He's a good lad, though. Really good lad. And spoiler alert, Benjamin, the last time he came down, before we did that filming and fitted the kit, we went out to Taupo, and he bought himself a new truck. Now, for many, many years, he's been driving around in a very, very trusty and loyal steed, which is a Ford Courier. And it's been brilliant. He paid $600 for it. It had been parked on a fellow lecturer's drive for 9 years, rego on hold, but not really. Just run every now and again just to get the oil around the engine and stuff, but not used at all. Interior was mint. It was like a new car. Exterior, it wasn't great. It was okay, wasn't great. Underneath was good. Brakes were pretty shot, being parked up for so long, and a few other bits and pieces. But other than that, it was a bargain for what it was. Utes tend to fetch a lot of money over here in New Zealand for some reason. So he bought it. He cleaned all the chassis off. He undersealed it all. We did all the brakes. We gave everything under the bonnet a full service, new cam belt, the lot. And it's been great. It's been really good. He's driven it around for many, many years. But this particular vehicle, and I won't tell you what it is. You'll have to wait for the video to come out, because he's left it down here because he wants to do some work on it to get it, you know, ready for daily use. So I'm going to steal it for an afternoon, and we're going to do a video on his truck, because it's a very, very, very cool truck. Pretty rare here in New Zealand, and extremely expensive normally. This one, I found it parked in a barn, and it had been used regularly until recently. It had no warrant, had no rego, but the rego was on hold. The guy put it through the warrant. It passed by a headlight bulb. So, I mean, you know, what the hell? It basically passed. And he put rego on it for Ben as well. And Ben drove it home. And he absolutely loves it. Sure, there's a few little bits and pieces to do. There's some bushes to fit on the front axle and things. It tends to wander a bit on the road. Not quite as bad as the Jimny did, but anyway. But it's got huge, great tyres on it. So what do you expect? You know? So anyway, we'll do a video on that. But it is really cool and pretty damned rare. So that'll be interesting. And I want to get that done before Ben takes it back. Ideally over Christmas sometime. We'll just chuck some fuel in it and we'll go for a bit of a blast. Now, where do we get to? Hang on, bear with me. So yeah, apologies that video was so long, but I enjoyed the spending time with Ben, and I enjoyed, you know, giving him a bit of time on the videos. Simon, found any good ones? Mike, oh, there you go, pies. Kevin, Machine NZ, morning Andy, good morning Kevin. Well, we have a new machine, so there you go. Mike Bazansky, indeed, I like that. George Body 90, a planer. It is. It's a planer reducer timbery thing. So you put the timber in at one end, which is too big, and it comes out the other end a bit smaller. And if it's not small enough, you take it out and put it back through again, and it makes some adjustments, and then it comes out, hopefully the right size. That's the plan. Never used one. Did do woodwork at school when I was 15. Yeah, I did woodwork first, I think it was. 15 years old. It was an O-level woodwork. Did it in 1 year, not 2, because I wanted to do metalwork. And they said I couldn't do metalwork unless I did the woodwork first. It's a bit odd, anyway, because they had very little take-up, and I think they thought I was going to take 2 years to do my woodwork. But anyway, I smashed out the woodwork, got a B, which I thought was pretty good for someone that's not particularly good with chisels and things. Although I didn't draw any blood, which was nice. And then did my GCSE metalwork, because it was like a changeover year. and I got an A plus in that, which was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. I really, in fact, everybody else, and I say everybody else, there's about 4 of us. Cameron made a little tiny drill press for his drill at home. Matt, I believe, made a steam engine, which was pretty much one of the things that was already drawn up. You just made it. I made a power hacksaw, and I'd love to show you it, but I haven't got it here. I had to leave it in the UK, and to be perfectly honest, it's probably been scrapped, which is a terrible shame because I put a lot of effort into making it, but we just couldn't fit it in the container. So one of those things. But I did get an A plus, so I was very happy with that. Where do we get to the Giants? Andy, give us a clue on what you bought. Oh, there you go. George has told you it is a planer for timber. So when you need to reduce the cross section of the timber down, whether it make it more of a plank or less wide and more square, whatever it is you need to do, that planer should do it. And like I said, I've never used one, so it could all end in disaster. And I think the first time I use it will be on camera, which will be hilarious. So yes, it is a planer. And I don't care how you spell it. I know what you meant. Simon, saving that last video for Sunday morning, coffee and bacon butties. Well, good man. It's almost feature. I always call feature length is 2 hours plus. And 2 hours for a video, man. It really should have been like a number of episodes, but that particular one was sort of a follow-up from the first 2 videos. And it all makes sense. Mrs. Mechanic has driven that little Jeep since, and she came back and said it's a lot better. It's not perfect, and it's nowhere near as good as it was standard height original wheels and tires, but it's a lot better, and it's drivable now. It doesn't just scare you shitless all the time. One thing that we haven't got enough Ks on yet driving it, enough miles driving it, is that weird point where every now and again there's a funny noise. It sounds a bit like ABS cutting in, like a bzzz, I can't feel anything on the brake pedal, and it seems to be coming from the front right. It's not the tyre catching the bodywork. There are no telltale signs whatsoever. And it seems to pull the vehicle off to one side. Mrs. Mechanic said it did it going left one day. It pulled the vehicle into the ditch to the left. It's not horrific, but it's a little bit unnerving, and it shouldn't do it. So hopefully doing the caster realignment might have also solved that problem. I'll let you know. We will find out. And we may well go for a bit of a drive in it sometime over Christmas. There's a really cool gravel road the other side of Rotorua that we've not driven for a very long time. Or we'll do the more local one, which isn't too far away, that takes us out towards Taramanui. Either way, they're cool tracks, and it'd be nice to get a few more Ks put on it, because I do enjoy driving it, even though it's quite small for me. Mrs. Mechanic loves it, or should I say, she did, until I changed it. Mechanics, right? We can't win. Where do we get to? Connor K. His truck is a Unimog. Ooh, I wish it was. No, this is a daily drive. It's not a Unimog, Connor. Ben won't be buying a Unimog. He just doesn't have the space to park it. He lives in Auckland, and it was this actually, Ben is nearly 30 years old. I know, it makes me sound really old. But this is the first vehicle. No, that's wrong, actually. It's not the first vehicle he bought on finance. He bought a WR450F the same time as I did, which he still has. At the time, it was a bit of a commitment for him because he wasn't earning that much. But he did it. He got it all paid off. He's very good with his payments. And since then, he's never bought anything. And that would be going back. He must have been about maybe 18, 19. Yeah, it's 2012. So yeah, he would have been. He'd have been about 17, 18 when he bought that. He's now 29 and a bit. And it was a big decision for him to whether to commit to buying it. But the purchase price was, you couldn't really say no, to be honest. It was a bit of a bargain. He could have bought it tidied it up a little bit. Not that it needs much tidying up, but he could have pretty much flicked it straight on and made at least $10,000 profit. So it's a bit of an investment. It's a bit of an investment for him, but he has no inclination whatsoever to sell it. It's a truck that he's been wanting for a very long time. As soon as I spotted it, I knew that he would want it. As simple as that. It was a no-brainer. Unless we found a major fault with it, he was going to buy it. And we didn't even barter on the price. What the price was, I just said, yep, we will pay you that, because I felt it was a very, very fair price. The guy was doing us a favor, to be fair. And he almost didn't part with it. It was only because it was coming to Ben and to me. I mean, I know the guy that sold us it. I've helped him in the past. We seem to get on pretty well. And I think he had a bit of confidence that he knew the truck was going to be well looked after for many, many more years to come. You know, not taken on a beach and wrecked, you know, as many of these trucks do, unfortunately. They end up on the sand dunes and they end up getting tuned to the hilt, and then they blow the engine up, and then that's the end of the truck. Luke Rollins, that's a new name. Where's the Tool Girls? Well, the Tool Girls, that chapter, I have to say, has most likely closed. Because I moved down here 4 years ago to this particular property, which we bought many, many years ago, and got the workshop set up down here. I'm a good 3.5 hours from Auckland. Logistics with the Tool Girls is an absolute nightmare. Plus, to be fair, they've all sort of, well, they've grown up. Not really tool girls anymore, they're tool women. And they have their own careers, and they've sort of moved on from that kind of, well, even having the time to do it is really, really hard. So we just decided, hey, we've done over 100 videos with Tool Girls on the channel. Yes, it's been fantastic fun. I had a great time. But now, with the amount of work that I have with my day job and the projects that I've got going on in the workshop at the moment, it just doesn't, it's not a fit, not a very good fit at the moment. Who knows, in the future, maybe it will change. I think it's unlikely, but it might. I'm not going to say a categorical no. We'll just see how things pan out. I don't know. I really don't know. John Dwyer, morning, Sir Andy. Thank you very much. And Lady Mechanic, Mrs. Mechanic is out of bed. She's been in the workshop a bit earlier on. Good lass. She's going to be. In fact, I'll show you the frames, because you now it's a fortnightly live stream. You won't have seen the workstation finished. I know episode 2 is still to come out, but you know that's what live streams are all about, to give you a bit more information. So when we have a wander around and we put the pie in, I'll show you what I've done, and she's going to be cleaning those up today. And this afternoon, all going to plan, I'm going to spray them. And then they can cure for the next few days. And then later in the week, maybe even Saturday, because obviously last week before Christmas, really busy at work, we'll then be able to get it assembled in the house and get one of the workstations up and running, which would be great. Hope you're all well. We're doing pretty well, actually. Mrs. Mechanic's been suffering with hay fever the last few days, but she seems a lot better now, which is good. MF50B, now then, that's a good Yorkshire one. Now then, Andy and crew. Good morning, MF50B. Welcome back, sir. Simon Rule, when the price was right, it's best not to haggle. Agreed. I think it can be a bit of an insult. Although the guy who bought it from, Roger, he was really taken back that we were paying the full price. So you walk away and go, shucks. But, you know, I still feel really, really good about it. You know, because of the value of the truck on, you know, the real market value of the truck, yeah, Ben's going to pay a bit of interest on the finance, but that's what you pay for finance, and it's not horrific, and it's still quids in, you know. You'd still make a profit, even when you take into account the interest. If he was to sell it, I don't think he will. Richard Perry, hi Andy and crew, hope all are well. GB thumbs up. Richard, we're doing fine. Bit tired, but you know, that's just being a mechanic, right? When you're busy, you're always tired. I had a busy week in Auckland, a really busy week last week. All right, here's a story for you. The Friday before, so a week last Friday, I'd gone up to Auckland. I was doing some filming on the Thursday, the last bit of filming, the winch work for a handover video for new vehicles for work. It was a really hot day. I was on my own in the middle of nowhere on this farm. It was sweltering heat, to be fair, and I was 4.5 hours filming. Everything went fine, but it took a long time to film it. I was absolutely exhausted. I think I had a bit of heat exhaustion, to be fair, and I was very dehydrated. But I got back, had a shower, and went down to the pub and, you know, rehydrated, and I was fine after that. But I was pretty tired. The following day, I went to go and see. In fact, I saw Brandon at the pub from Tang Tools. He came down for about half an hour, and we had a quick catch up. And then on the Friday, he says, "Oh, I've got some timber here that you can have for doing the workstation tops. You know, the desktop and the shelf and stuff." I said, "Not really?" He says, "Yeah. I've done a quick plain length. Most of it's pallet timber, but it's good quality pallet timber. I haven't got a use for it. If it's any good to you, pop down and pick it up." So I did. On my way, before I left Auckland, swung by his place, which was sort of on the way out anyway. Chucked it all in the trailer, and there was a lot of it. There's plenty of timber to go out. I'm sure I'll have plenty left over. And then headed down the motorway. And here lies the problem. So the trailer's not overloaded. It's maybe only got about 300 or 400 kgs of weight on it. It's the small Eiffel Williams. And I'm in the slow lane. So it's what we'd call in England a motorway. They call them motorways in New Zealand, but they don't treat them like motorways. I'm in the slow lane. There's nothing in the middle lane. And like lemmings, the vast majority of Aucklanders seem to think that the furthest to the right lane, which we'd call the overtaking lane in the UK, they believe that's the fastest lane. So that because most of them go in that lane, it becomes usually the slowest lane. I know, there's no logic to it whatsoever. And what they don't do is treat it as an overtaking lane. They just stay in it, irrespective of whether there's nothing in the middle lane and nothing in the slow lane or the truck lane for the UK motorways. So I'm approaching a point in the motorway where there's an exit, and the left lane becomes an exit only. So if I'd stayed in the left lane, I would have exited the motorway. So I had to transition to the middle lane. So I check the mirror, all good, nothing there, indicate, start to pull into the lane, look up, and there's this numpty in a black car, a black four-wheel drive, something or other, one of the modern ones, it wasn't very old, darted out of the outside lane into the middle lane. No indication, no nothing. He's traveling pretty slow, probably about 20, 30 Ks an hour. I'm probably traveling 60, 70 Ks an hour, and he just darts straight in front of me. So of course, anchors on, and it's all on dash cam, luckily. Anchors on, trailer starts to squirm. I managed to get to the left and avoid a collision with the black car. So the Utes fine, no contact whatsoever, probably about a 2 foot gap between me and him. But he keeps coming out. He doesn't go, "Oh, there's a car there," and sneak back in again. No. The numpty decides to continue to transition into the middle lane, not realizing, of course, I have a trailer. So, of course, the trailer is now slewing off to the right in reaction to me cranking it left really violently. He's moving left, so now the trailer and him just go boom like this. And I'm busy watching it all in the mirror. That bit's not on the dash cam because that's looking ahead. But I'm looking in the rear view mirror and I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting." There's bits of black plastic flying all over the motorways. Front bumper gets ripped off, all the wheel arch, the trim on the wheel arch. And then the trailer just scratches the shit down the side of his car. And then, I managed to correct it. He brakes. I get ahead, and now we've separated again as vehicles. And, those first few seconds afterwards, it's like, well, I know there's nothing wrong with the trailer. He chose to drive into the side of my trailer. I was already in the lane. Not fully in the lane, but I was probably about 3/4 into the middle lane at the point that it of impact. And again, it's all substantiated with stills and stuff from the GoPro footage. Do I bother to stop? Nobody's injured. I don't legally have to stop. Should I stop? I should really stop. So, I stopped. So I pulled into the hard shoulder, probably a couple of 100 meters up when it was safe to do so, because I had a couple of lanes to change. And of course, the slow lane was getting pretty busy because it's all the traffic that's turning off the motorway. So, you know, it took me a little bit to work my way across the motorway. Got pulled up. As I pulled up, this lad in a BMW, I think it was, a white Beamer or something, pulled up in front of me. Yeah, it was a Beamer. A Maori lad. And he jumps out and goes, "Oh, I saw everything," in a Maori accent. I can't do Maori accents. And I said, "Excellent. That's really good news." He says, "Do you want my details?" I says, "No, it's all right. The dash cam's got your number plate. I'm sure the insurance company will be able to track you down. It's not an issue. We're all good." And then, obviously, the numpty had pulled up behind me, and he's busy looking at the trailer and looking at his car, very, very sad. And he says, "Well, what now?" And I said, "Well, you chose to drive into the side of my trailer. I was already in the lane. You didn't indicate. You clearly didn't look. And even when there was a car in the middle lane, you carried on coming out. You know, it's your fault, mate. I'm not interested." I says, "Look, here's my contact details, which I have to give you legally. I'm on my way. See ya." So I was only stopped about 90 seconds, and I was back on the road. Anyway, sure enough, Monday morning, get a phone call from the AA Insurance in Auckland. There's been a collision, and we'd like your insurance details, please. I says, "No, I'm not giving you. I'm not at fault. You've got to prove that I'm at fault. I'm not at fault. I'm not placing a claim. I'm not interested." I said, "It's all on dash cam. You can see that your client made the error. He entered a lane of faster moving traffic without indicating or looking. All the evidence is there. I'm not going to give you my insurance details because, unfortunately, you don't lose your no claims if there's no claim. You don't lose your no claims if you're not at fault. You lose your no claims if they have to process a claim, whether you're in the right or the wrong." So I said, "No, I'm not interested." And I said, "In any case," I said, "the insurance that you want isn't for the ute. It's for the trailer. He hit the trailer. He didn't hit the ute." "Oh." I said, "That's my insurance. It's not my work insurance. It's my insurance. So let's cross that bridge. Once you've watched the footage, and I'll send it through to you, once you've watched that, you come back to me. And then we'll decide where to go from there." And that's where we're at with that. So, interesting times. Bloody Auckland drivers. Honestly, it was a Friday afternoon. Every single person, other than me, it seems, was in a rush to get somewhere. And that darting, that last second lane changing is a real problem in Auckland. And the government has started a campaign now where if you're not overtaking, keep left. Exactly the same as in the UK. If the lane to your left is clear and it's not a dedicated exit lane and the middle lane wasn't, get in it. Get out of the overtaking lane. But they don't. They all just sit in the. You can see them when they come onto the motorway. They go immediately into the outside lane, the right-hand lane, and then last minute before their exit, they then dart across all three lanes to get to their exit to get off the motorway. It's like, what the hell? And the trucks are equally as bad. They're allowed to go in the outside lane, the overtaking lane, in a truck. In the UK, it was at the time when I was there, that's illegal. Trucks, I think coaches can, certain long-distance coaches, not buses, but coaches can go in the outside lane, the overtaking lane, but trucks can only use the slow lane and the middle lane, which is fair. And it all seems to work pretty well in the UK. Here, it's just a lottery. And then, of course, you get motorcyclists, and I'm one of them, that lane split, that ride along the dotted lines between the lanes at any speed. We could be doing 90 k's an hour with the trailer and the bike will still lane split between me and the car to my right or left. There's no logic. Anyway, that's my rant over. Yes, that was fun. We'll see how things pan out, but I am absolutely confident I did nothing wrong. We'll wait and see. I'll keep you posted, And given the number of miles that I do here in New Zealand, especially with trailers, and the kind of drivers that I have to deal with, it's inevitable there's going to be accidents. And I'm just grateful it wasn't the ute that hit him, and it was just the trailer, Anyway, there you go. That's my little story for that one. That stopped the comments. You've all had something to think about now, haven't you? Where do we get to? Stu, Giddy from Brizzy. Giddy from Brizzy. Hey, Stu. Simon, In the UK now, after any crash, people get out of their car holding their necks and claim whiplash. Is that right? Oh God, honestly, anything to try and get some money. It's just ridiculous. I mean, don't get me wrong, in the UK, vehicle to vehicle in fact, in the UK, when I was driving the country lanes and stuff, especially in the four-wheel drives that we used on at the site and the Unimog, vehicle to vehicle contact it didn't bother me at all. If you're in the way, you're getting out of the way. If you're in the wrong, you're getting out of the way. I didn't have time for idiots. I had a bit of a reputation. Right, so let's put the pie in the pie warmer because I've been rambling on for ages. We have a Bake Shack steak and mushroom. Pretty sure I've had one of these in the past, but we've not scored it. I haven't done it to camera. So, Mrs. Mechanic found this. She's very good at seeking out the pies. I'll give her that. Right, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, it's a square pie in a Bake Shack. Quite rare in New Zealand to have square pies. They're normally round. There we go. Structural integrity looks pretty good. I don't think we've got any lifting of the lid anyway at the moment. And the top's all right. Okay, let's head over to the pie warmer. 1, 2, oh, hang on. 3, 2, 1, boom! Oh, I nearly got it wrong then, didn't I? Okay. And then we'll have a little tour of the workshop and run through some bits and pieces. Okay. Oh, there's a little bit of a lift. Look at that. That could be a problem. We'll see how that develops. A bit of thermal expansion. There we go. Yeah, no, I've not cleaned it yet. No. Adds to flavour. Okay, where do we start? Right. So we have a timber planing machine, or planer, made by Hollytech. Now, these have been around for many, many years, and they still make the same design. This one is probably 10 or 15 years old. I'm quite happy to buy second-hand machinery if it's in good order, and this has had hardly any use. And it saved me about $1,000 on the price of a new one. I paid, I think, $1,300 New Zealand dollars for this. And the model, if you want to Google it, see if I can get down there with my iPod, is a CT-381. It's got a 2 horsepower motor, which is single phase, 230 volt, 50 hertz. And it's serial number 684351. Oh, there you are. Look, date 2003. So it was made 20 years ago. So it's almost a classic. Now that's nice. New machinery nowadays, it never seems to be made quite as well. Obviously, it's got the on-off button. It's got basically you raise and lower this platform to set your thickness for your planer. And it's got rollers and stuff, so you feed it in. It's a self-feed, so once it starts to pull in, it'll draw the timber through at the right speed. You can probably adjust the speed. What have we got there? Oh, there you are, look. There's your speed adjustment. 20 feet per minute when it's pushed in, or 16 feet per minute when it's pulled out. And if it's in the middle, it doesn't go anywhere. Change gears when machine is running. All right, change the gears when machine is running. Interesting. You wouldn't have thought that, would you? Lubricating oil should be added every 30 hours of operation. Okay. And this was originally supplied by a company called Jax, Advancing Efficiency in Woodworking. There you go. Look, so you can check out Jax if they're still around. www.jax.co.nz. I haven't seen Jax advertise at all while I've been in New Zealand, so they may not be there anymore. So the bits of wood that you don't want come out via here with chips. There's a few down there, look, left over. Nice. Previous job. And it also came with an extractor, so we're not going to fill the workshop full of sawdust and chips and bits and pieces. It does require a little bit of restoration work. One of the legs down here has broken free from its mount, so I need to, weld that up. That's an easy job. And it came with some bags and piping and all the bits and pieces. So the whole, that was $350, and they're normally about $800, $900 to buy new. So again, I saved half my money on that. I wouldn't have bothered buying a new one anyway, too much money. But because the guy had it, we did a bit of a deal since I was buying this. He was happy enough, Now, what's next? Oh, yes, right. Because I have to make these woodwork tops, Brandon says, have you got any sash clamps? Well, I do have one, and one isn't enough. It's up there, look, in the loft, a really old record one that I came across. It came with a bench, actually, one of these big workshop benches. The guy threw it in. So I said, yeah, I'll have that. That's cool. So Brandon says, oh no, you need some sash clamps. We'll sort you out some sash clamps. So there's 4 brand new, really good quality, these things. These are posh. I haven't even taken them out of the box yet. Let's get one out. There, look. Made by a company called, can't pronounce it properly, Ihoma. And these are 800 millimeters long. What we're going to be clamping up will be 600 mil wide for the workstation, which is, here are the frames actually. So the timber will fit, basically, it's going to, this is the right way up. So the timber sits on here, that surface there is 300 mil down from the surface here. So the timber is going to be 300 mil thick, and it'll sit nicely on there. And there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of other brackets and stuff all welded into place now. Mrs. Mechanic's just got to do the final cleanup, and then we can actually get it sprayed up, and then we can assemble it. So things are looking pretty good. It didn't turn out to be too bad a job, to be honest. There's a bit of welding splatter though. Yes, Mr. Young, not ideal. I think this was the template frames. It had a lot more splatter on it than the rest of them, but she'll soon clean that up. She's really, really good at that kind of stuff. And it's not everywhere. It's only the odd bit here and there. So I'm quite happy with that. It sort of worked, and it's super strong. In fact, it's probably the strongest workstation on the planet, so all good. Oh, I got the little feet rounded off as well. One frame didn't get that done, so there you go. We've got some nice new clamps, which will probably not get used again for a while because I don't do a lot of woodwork, but very, very useful to have, and absolutely top quality pieces of kit. Very happy. And you can also use them as spreaders as well. You can turn the clampy thing round on the rail, super thick rails, and use it as a spreader as well. So pretty useful in the workshop, to be fair. Obviously won't use them on steel work because, you know, they'll just melt everything, but really, really good. So we've actually massively increased our number of clamps in the workshop recently. We've got all the steel ones down there, look. I still haven't tied it up, honestly. I just want to get these frames done, and then that's it. I can have I think I might have to make a new rack to put all my clamps on, to keep them all in one place, because they're getting a bit out of hand now. Hanging them off the side of the lathe isn't an option anymore. Now there's one more thing. Well, let's go over here and have a quick close-up look at some of these frames here. Look, the other one, the second one, the poles are over there. Look, they're the horizontals. They're all made up, ready to go. But there's a bit of an issue with those, so you'll see that on the next video when it goes out. Which I've still got to edit up that one, to be fair. But no, it actually worked out really, really well. Very, very happy with it. A lot more work than originally planned, but also it will do the trick for many, many, many years. It'll just be the job done. Now, the next thing, let's talk about some wood glue. Turn you around, 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay. So pie is in. We've covered the planing machine. That's done. We've covered the sort of dust extract that goes with it. We've covered the clamps, but we haven't covered wood glue, because obviously the desk top and the shelf that sits above, it's 600 mil deep. Well, I'm not going to go out and buy a single piece of timber. I did look around, but ridiculously expensive. My original plan was to use a kitchen worktop and just to buy a couple of those and cut them down. But it was all laminate stuff, and it just looked a bit naff, to be honest. I wanted something a bit more rustic, you know, a bit more hands-on and you know, cheaper as well. I mean, free wood. Can't say. I mean, I landed on my feet with that. So I said to Brandon from Tang Tools, I said, hey, because he likes to do a bit of woodworking at home. He showed me his workshop when I was picking the timber up the other day, and I said, hey, Brandon, what do you reckon for wood glue? What wood glue do you use? And he says, oh, I use a company called Tribond. Is it Tribond? Titebond. I don't know where I got Tribond from. Titebond. And I says, okay, where do you get that from? And he told me a place called Carbatech, which is very close to where I work at head office. in East Temeke. So I said, oh, cool, I'll swing by there on Friday and I'll pick up some wood glue from there. So I wandered in, and Tribond make 3 different types of wood glue. There was Tribond 1, 2, and 3. And the 3 does the exterior stuff as well, waterproof and so on, exterior and interior use. And I looked at the price tag of $69.50 for one, is it a litre? Oh, it's not even a litre, 906 milliliters down there, look. And I thought, that's a lot of money. Jeez, this project's costing me a fortune. I mean, I know the timber was free, so I was like, yeah. So I picked up Tribond 2, which was interior use only. And we're only going to have the workstations inside. And it was like $15 cheaper. I thought, well, you know, what's the difference? We'll have that. And took it to the counter. And a gentleman called Grant was at the counter. Very, very helpful chap. And he had his second in command with him as well. The shop was empty, pretty much. There was just me there as a customer. And he says, why didn't you go for the Tribond 3? Well, it's more expensive. I said, so I jumped in. I said, oh, Brandon sent me down from Tang Tools, Cell Industrial. And he's recommended that I come and buy some of this glue. And he said that the Tribond 2 will be fine for what I want. And it's a bit cheaper, so, you know, all good. He says, but did you realize that the work time available on the 2 is about half the time? It's only 3 or 4 minutes before it starts to cure and set. Whereas with the 3, you get about 10 minutes. And I was like, ooh, I might need a few extra minutes. You know, it might take me a while to set things up. Okay, let's go for the 3. So I put the 2 back on the shelf, grabbed the 3, went back to the counter. And I says, I'll be using this glue in an up-and-coming video on my YouTube channel. And the guy's eyes lit up. He's like, oh, YouTube, I've made a video on YouTube. I said, have you? Show me your video. So he showed me his video of him using a pillar drill, a drill press, they call it here in New Zealand. And very well presented, very clean, tidy, well-edited video. And I was like, that's really good, mate. So he jumped onto my channel, I did a little mooch round. And he says, that's really good. We need to talk. Okay, we can do that. He says, but before we do that, let me give you a trade discount on the glue. We'll give you 20%, and that'll bring it down to the same price as what your Tribond 2 would have been. So I was quids in. I had better glue for the same money. Perfect. Happy chap. And then Grant took me across the workshop to show me some stuff that he had, because they sell woodworking machinery, lathes, and all sorts of other stuff. Pillar drills and things. And he said, we've got a pillar drill here which would be absolutely brilliant for you. I was like, okay, tell me more. And it's a New Zealand made pillar drill, and it's completely variable speed. There's no pulleys, there's no belts, it's direct drive, but the motor that drives it is completely variable. And there's a screen on the front, and you just dial up what you want. You also select the material that you're using. It can do forward and reverse. It can do auto stop on your depth. It's pretty clever, actually, really clever. And you can even set it up where as soon as you pull the workpiece away, it turns off. And when you put a fresh piece of workpiece in, it will then restart as soon as you start to move the little lever to bring it down, you know. I was like, man, that is a really cool piece of kit. And the plan is, and this is only a plan at the moment. He said, look, he said, the company's based here in Auckland. Let me contact them. Obviously, he gets on with them really well. Let me contact them and see if they can lend you one for a while. And then you can install it in your workshop. You can use it in your videos. You can get used to using it. Great sales pitch, right? You know, incorporate your videos, promote the product, obviously, and just give a genuine opinion of what you think to it. And in all honesty, I was busy looking at the price tag. $3,600, probably plus GST, so over $4,000 for a pillar drill is a very expensive pillar drill. 2 horsepower, which is basically the biggest you can get on single phase. Very neat and tidy, very cool. Had all the depth stuff was all digital, you know, so you were very, very accurate drilling. You can set it to do tapping as well, so you can set your tapping speed, you tell it your tap size. You then bring the tap down, it cuts the thread, And then when you get to the depth that you've chosen, it stops and it reverses the tap out at a slower speed. So you don't have to let go of the lever. It's just done. Easy as that. It's got like auto stop. It senses if the whole thing jams and it stops and cuts the power. One of the most important factors is that with a normal pillar drill, as you know, as load increases, speed often reduces. It just pulls the motor down and you lose that optimum rotational speed for cutting a particular material with a particular size drill bit. It senses a drop in speed and automatically increases torque output to maintain the speed of the drill bit. Now that's cool. That's really cool. So very tempted, really tempted. But at this point in time, I'm not going to sink $4,000 into a pillar drill. I don't have the money to do that. If they want to lend me one, absolutely. I prefer, this was a full height one, so it stands from the floor. I prefer a half height so I can mount it on the bench because we're really short of space in this workshop now. I don't know if they make a half height one. We'll have to find out. And then after I've had it down here for maybe 6 months or however long they agree to lend me it, then maybe we'll do a deal. Maybe I can buy it as an ex demo or something. We'll work it out. It's obviously in their interest to get it on YouTube. They don't sell that many of them. Again, probably because of the price. Is it something that I've considered in the past? Yeah, I've considered buying a new pillar drill, but I just didn't even know that kind of pillar drill even existed. And pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. Now, so if you're based in Auckland, or you deal with this particular company, or you're looking for any woodworking stuff, I'm not going to give the guy, they're not sponsoring me. He was just a really helpful chap. And it's good to give some feedback of helpful people in the industry. And I don't do a lot of woodwork, but now I've got a really good contact for woodworky stuff. There was a time a couple of years ago, Mrs. Mechanic actually made some pretty strong inroads into starting a new hobby of wood turning, and she asked me to look out for a wood turning lathe for her. All I saw was just sawdust and wood chips all over my workshop, so I sort of dragged my feet a bit on it, to be fair. But maybe it's something she wants to get into at some point. It'd be good to get her out of a craft room and a bit more into the workshop environment, and physically making, working with wood and making bits and pieces for the house, and just having a different kind of a hobby would be great. So maybe one day we'll get a wood lathe off the guy as well. We don't know yet. And again, the motor on the pillar drill was originally designed for use in a woodworking lathe, because they make woodworking lathes as well as the company that makes the drill press. I've forgotten the name of the company, sorry. And Grant was saying that when you're using a woodworking lathe, because you've got usually quite a large diameter workpiece, as soon as you start to put the chisel on, it pulls the speed down, and that's why they developed the motor, to keep that constant speed. So very, very clever. Kiwi engineers designed it, New Zealand engineers, and the production of the drill press, I believe, is Taiwan, but I could be wrong. Could be wrong there. We'll find out. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going to lend me one, so we'll wait and see. But very cool piece of kit, and it'd be great to showcase it on the channel. Simon, have you getting any more forward with the CVT transmission porosity? Man, I'm going to be very careful what I say on the live stream. What I will say is I produced a report based on what I felt were potential issues, and that report has gone to the factory, to the chief engineer at the factory in Japan, and he has now responded that he's put a team together to investigate. That's all I'm going to say. It's confidential. I can't say any more, and I can't say whether they're going to consider it a problem or not. We're going to wait to see what the results are. So Simon, apologies, I can't dig any deeper into that as regards a case, but I think you already know my thoughts on it. and I'm pretty sure I'm right. We'll wait and see. But all of it is to do with trying to make things better, you know, in a positive way, moving forward for the future. Jim K, that's a nice planer. I think it is. I mean, proof's in the pudding, right, Jim? But it looks pretty cool, and it's bloody heavy. Not quite as heavy as Sheldon the Mill, obviously, but it's very top heavy. And I fitted the casters while it was on its side after I'd unloaded it out the back of the ute. And it was pretty touch and go on my own with Trevor the tractor getting it up onto its wheels. Because obviously if it slipped off the straps that I was using and it crashed to the ground, it would have destroyed the machine. So it was a bit nerve-wracking, but we got there in the end. I just made just a little timber frame so I could fit some casters to it, because everything in the workshop needs to be movable. Otherwise, it just grinds to a halt in here. It's horrific. Simon might be able to adapt them sash clamps to press the top spacer on forks, upside down forks. Good point. Ben does have somewhere a spare bike tool. What are they called? Blue. Anyway, really, really well-known brand of tool for bicycles. I forgot the name of it. It's blue. No, I forgot it. It's gone. See, getting old. And it clamps around the seat stem, around the frame where the seat stem comes out when you're working on bikes, on a bicycle stand, for a mechanic, for in a workshop. And he's got a few spare clamps. So hopefully I'm gonna, when we dig out, clean his shed out, I'll find one of those clamps and I'll make a tool for holding a fork, because it's a nightmare in a vise, but it's designed to clamp round things. So I'll be able to make that and make myself a little jig that I can clamp into the vise to hold the forks really well. But again, that's another day. But you're right, Simon, it'd be a good idea with that. Stu, bought a few Festool gear, Park Tools, that's the name of them. See, it came back, I'm not that old. Bought a few Festool gear from the, hang on, I've got a love heart in the way from that. Brandon. Oh, so you know Brandon. He is a good guy. Brandon is great. He's a top bloke. He really is. Very, very helpful. I've known him for, geez, probably about 10 years now. I've known him. So we're both 10 years older. Done a lot of stuff over the years. And he's always supported the channel. He's been really, really good, really helpful. And yeah, just can't knock the bloke. As sound as a pound, he really is. Absolute legend. And Tang Tools themselves, you know, I mean, good gear. As you know, I've used them for years and years and years, and I just can't knock it. I mean, everything's pretty much, it's not the best quality in the world. It's not that they don't aim to be the same as Snap-on and stuff, but man, they're a lot cheaper than Snap-on gear. Tools here in New Zealand have gone through the roof of the price. It's just horrific. So, we're waiting for the pie. What's the plan for today? Well, the plan for today, as soon as the live stream finishes, I've still got I was servicing an ROV yesterday, last minute as always, ready for Christmas. None of the surf clubs around Auckland contacted me this time this year for the servicing work on their fleet, which is really weird. Maybe I thought maybe I'm just too expensive for them. I don't know. Maybe they need a quicker turnaround time. I don't know. It just turns out that there's been a lot of changes within the surf club group. It's more centralized now at head office. The clubs tend to do a lot less themselves and follow direction from head office. And maybe the budgets haven't been in place or what, I don't know. But I've received a call from Bethel's Beach last week. They've got 2 ROVs up there. One's here now for service and repair. Service is nearly finished. The brakes were mint on it, so I'm going to check how many hours it had done, because it was in February, I think it was. Did a top end rebuild on it. They overheated it, unfortunately. One of the coolant pipes had rotted through, so all that was fixed and sent back. I don't think it's done a lot of work since then. None of the brakes are binding at all. I replaced the brake pads on the handbrake, They were getting down a little bit, so it's got new ones of those. I don't think it got new ones last time round. I must have run out of stock. So it's got new ones in this time. Brakes are all sorted. Engine's all serviced up, apart from valve clearance that'll get done first job this morning after the live stream. Air filter to oil up, and then it's pretty much butting it all back together. It had a broken light at the back. The exhaust had rotted out, so it's got a new new silencer on it. And there was something else. Something else needed replacing. Oh yes, one of the footwells inside are cracked. So I got them a new one under warranty. So that's being fitted now as well. So that one's not far off finished. It wants to be finished today. If it doesn't get finished today, it's not a problem, other than the fact it's going to be in the way. Has to go back to Auckland next week, so I can always work on it on an evening for a couple of hours and it'll be finished. So it's not the end of the world if I don't get around to it today, but I'd like to get it out of the way because it's very much in the way. Oh, new one. Willoy Levy. Hello, Andy. Are electric cars the future or not? That's a discussion for a whole video, is that one. What I will say at this point in time, I was reading, and Simon, you could maybe jump in on this one, whether you think these facts are correct or not, but in the UK, the government pushed electric cars a few years earlier than here in New Zealand. And in 2017, going back what I read, and I don't know, I can't validate this, in the UK, 1 million electric cars were sold in 2017. And, you know, all the environmentally friendly people that support the polar bears and stuff, they were all pushing really hard for the electric cars to get all the oil burner cars off the roads and stuff. And I'm sure at that time it was being pushed by Europe as well. And now the same people that were pushing the electric cars back in 2017 and almost forcing them upon people, forcing them down our throats, have now announced that electric cars are potentially a huge problem in the fact of disposal of the waste. They reckon out of those million cars, and many of them are now coming towards the end of their life, the average lifespan of a car nowadays is only about 7 years. There will be 250,000 tons of lithium batteries to dispose of, and the UK does not have the capacity to recycle those batteries. They can't put them in landfill because they're too hazardous, and they also contain a lot of precious metals which they need to recover so they can reuse them again. So the UK is facing a real problem, which will be a problem replicated around the world, I'm sure, of what to do with the old batteries when those cars come to end of life. Pretty ironic, to be fair, and nobody really planned ahead. They were all too bothered about getting chargers put up, which was pretty slow anyway, and slow as well in the fact that the speed they charge the cars up. I think Tesla's probably the leader here in New Zealand for charging stations, although behind quite a few of the Tesla sites there is a big diesel generator. Well done, Tesla. Good job. Make the people feel good, but because they don't know the whole story. But anyway, there's a lot of electric cars here in New Zealand, so I'm pretty confident New Zealand will be facing the same problem in 5 or 6 years' time. It's going to be a nightmare. It really is. Electric cars are nowhere near as beneficial to the environment as what the governments would like you to think. The infrastructure just isn't in place. The governments have been spending taxpayers' money subsidising the cost of these cars, which is, I believe, completely unfair to the rest of the taxpayers that are happy to drive petrol cars around. An electric car, it doesn't work in some working environments. It's not practical. Sure, there's this range anxiety thing that's going on. Can I actually get to where I want to go? There's an advert at the moment for a particular car. I can't remember which one it is, what brand it is, but they say that it's got 530 kilometers range on one charge. That's the equivalent of driving from Auckland to Gisborne. What they seem to forget is between Auckland and Gisborne are many, many big hills, lots of big hills. And to put a quote in like that, yes, maybe distance-wise it's equivalent, but there isn't a hope in hell's chance that that car would actually get from Auckland to Gisborne on one charge. So it's a little bit misleading. you know, for the regular public to watching that advert. They'll think, oh, we can get to Gisborne on one charge. You can't. You're going to be sat at the side of the road, stranded, because there's hardly any charging stations along that route at the moment. So yeah, electric cars, don't get me started, right? We could talk about it all day long. And in a nutshell, no, I do not believe it's the way forward. I believe it was just a stepping stone to allow the governments to tick the box to meet their emissions for the country, their emission targets, and say, "Oh, didn't we do a great job? Let's worry about the problems further down the line when there's a different government in play." Yeah, not good, and something I don't want to waste too much time on the live stream. But my bottom line, my thoughts on electric cars, I wouldn't touch them with a barge pole. That's my take on it. I think you're going to lose a shit ton of money on the car. I think it'll devalue very quickly. No, it's not a niche market anymore by any means, because the government have made it a big market. They've raised the awareness amongst the public tremendously. But what's now following on behind, as like an aftershock, is the realization by the public that these electric cars are not anywhere near as good as your regular car at doing its job, and that's traveling and transporting you from A to B in a relatively quick time. Journey times on electric cars seem to be massively longer, and if somebody did a study on that, that would be quite interesting. You know, if you're using it in a city, that's fine. We need to cut down on the smog in the cities and stuff. Great, no worries. But for long distance driving, for towing, for demanding, where you're demanding a lot more energy from the vehicle to get you to where you need to go, I don't think it's a good idea. And I don't like this self-drive stuff. I really don't. I think that's, you know, if you're going to be the driver, it's your job to drive. And over the years, we've seen more and more systems come into vehicles which detract the driver from the driving, i.e. your lane assist, your Tesla sort of self-driving thing on the motorway, where people can just, oh, well, the car's doing it all. What can I do? Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll send some emails, or I'll go on the phone and do some texts and surf, Facebook or any other social media stuff. You know, in the Tesla cars now, they have a massive, great screen, which really draws the attention of the driver away from doing their job, which should be driving. I remember in the day where it was illegal to have a screen within the vision range of the driver. You could only have like DVD players and stuff in the back seats, in the back of the headrests and things on your posh cars. But now, because of reverse cameras and stuff, they had to change legislation, and that's what allowed all this other stuff to flood through, where you can sit in a Tesla and you can, or any branded car that's got a big screen, and you can watch a movie whilst you're driving. Really? Is that what we really want the drivers to be doing, and not concentrating on the driving of the car? I know that's not electric cars, that's all cars, but it's still bad, isn't it? You know, you're the driver, you're there to drive, nothing else. Scrolling back. John Nuttall. Has Alan got the parts for his Trump yet? And how are the rats? Well, at the moment, I've not heard any rats for a few weeks, which is nice. All the bait has been eaten again out of the big drawers over there. That seems to be their go-to accommodation when they do come into the workshop. It's all gone. There's obviously some mouse droppings and stuff. They've all gone as well. I've not heard a mousey. I've not heard a ratty for a while. So we're pretty good at the moment on that front. As regards Alan's Triumph parts, I've heard nothing. I haven't. Alan is definitely in alignment with my way of thinking, and he came up with this himself. He met Stu down in Invercargill a few weeks ago. He did a ride down there, and he actually bought a bike off Stu, which was nice. A Kawasaki, I think it was, that he bought. I'm not too sure on the model. It's an old one, classic. And he said, oh, you know, maybe Stu should rebuild the Triumph. All of it, like engine rebuild, engine back in, and do all the other work. And I'm like, well, he can. I want to film it. That was the whole point. But yes, very happy for Stu to do the work, you know, but I'll be there with him doing it. We'll have to just schedule it for times that I'm in the South Island and over weekends. And I was, cool, okay, let's do that. So we're sort of in alignment. what I thought was going to happen was good. So Alan's quite happy to take the rest of the bike down with all the bits and pieces when the engine's finished and ready for me and Stu to install the engine back in the frame. And I'm sure Stu will be very grateful for some additional muscle of getting the engine back in the frame, because they're not the easiest things to get back in. And then we can go through and get the whole thing set up properly. And then maybe it'll then come back here, and I'll fit the tires and do the wiring and bits and pieces back in my workshop. And I think that's a happy compromise. That's the plan at the moment, but it all hinges on Alan getting the parts. And at the moment, I've not heard anything. He's got the list. He knows what he needs to buy. Most of them will come out of the UK. There'll be some lead time on that. So at the moment, I'm just focused on all my other tasks, and then just spend 2 or 3 minutes every day wheeling his bike in and out of my workshop and putting it under cover so it's not in the sunlight or the rain, to be fair. So that project at the moment is completely on hold, but there's still a future with that project at the moment, which is nice because it's a cool bike, even though I don't like it, because, you know, it's weird. Anyway, Simon, must not be reporting that on the UK news. Interesting, Simon. Interesting. I don't know if that million electric cars sold in 2017 is accurate. Maybe that's something that you can research. I don't know. But it was like, really? That's a pretty big problem if it's true. Simon, YouTube Jeff buys cars. He did a head-to-head in a diesel BMW versus an EV from Land's End to John O'Groats. I've driven that. The EV results were shocking. Pardon the pun. Excellent. I like it when things are shocking. Igors Dobroskis. Good evening to all. Good evening, Igors. Igors Dobroskis. Andy, why are you so negative on electric cars? 80% or more can't even afford one. Negative electric cars. I am, in the fact that, and I think part of it stems to the fact that the government has jumped on board and really supported and got behind the marketing of these cars. This is here in New Zealand, and pushing them onto the general public. It was either June or July this year here in New Zealand, that 1 month, whichever one it was, June or July, 50% of all cars sold were electric. It's monstrous. It's sort of got out of hand here in New Zealand. The government were because they provide a subsidy on the price when you buy a new electric car. They massively underestimated the take-up that people would do on buying these electric cars. It obviously cost the government a lot more money than they originally budgeted for that particular scheme that they put in place. And maybe the reality is they've been backing something that they can't, as a government, support when it comes to the proper disposal of those cars in 5, 6, 7, 8 years' time. There isn't the infrastructure here in New Zealand to allow those cars to be used as a normal car for some journeys. There are certainly many areas in New Zealand that don't have the charger network available, and so therefore that kind of car it's not an option, but people have bought that car in that area and it's now causing them a problem. It is what it is. What seems to be an option for some families is now they have 2 cars, not one. When they used to have one, they'll have their regular petrol or diesel car for long distance journeys, and they'll use their electric car for local trips. What that's done is, in a sense, for that particular family at least, it's doubled the car ownership for that family. And that's replicated across quite a few families. So it's put up their costs by the fact they have to have warrant of fitness and rego, and obviously they've got finance payments and so on 2 cars now, not one. So their costs have gone through the roof. They found that having only an electric car doesn't work. They have to have a normal car to use for the stuff the electric car won't do. It's not practical for. See where I'm coming from? Ultimately, long-term, electric cars are going to have the range, and there will be the network in the country to support those cars. But that still doesn't detract from the really hazardous waste that's created when those cars are disposed of in 5, 10 years' time, whatever it is, Battery disposal is a massive. We just chuck them in the ground. That's not going to happen. Right. So yes, negative. Not negative at all on hydrogen-powered cars, by the way. I goes Dvorskius. NBC News had a topic on electric cars. Nobody is buying them in the USA. Excellent. They showed that a 2023 Ford F-150 with 23 miles on it is not even selling for $7,000. What? If I stand correct, if I misunderstood, with a huge discount, that's crazy. It was the case in Norway too. They promised to lift all the taxes of the electric ones, but look at them now. All taxes are back in place, even double for road use, etc. Interesting, Igors, actually. Here in New Zealand, the government. I read an article again on Facebook, probably, or one of the newspapers. The government now, and they have been planning this for a while, on diesel cars, the tax element for the fuel, most of it's not charged with the fuel. You have to buy what's called road user charges here in New Zealand for all diesel-powered, diesel-engine vehicles, and you buy like 1,000 k's or 10,000 k's, and you pay a lump sum to buy those. They're going to start to implement that on electric vehicles, because obviously at the moment there is no fuel tax on the electric that's fueling those electric cars. So the government's missing out on all that income. And of course, now they're like, well, there's a lot of electric cars here in New Zealand. We need to jump across and implement the road user charges for electric cars. So the benefits of having an electric car are being chipped away at even further. The financial benefits are being significantly chipped away. And the other problem is, and one point that they made, is that for a low-income family, when they buy petrol or diesel let's say petrol, they buy petrol for their family car, they're only paying a small chunk of tax each time. Whereas if they have to buy these road user charges in advance for their electric car, that's a big chunk of money up front that they then use. So that's been seen as a huge hurdle for low-income families having electric cars, just making it really difficult for them. And I think in reality, just not an option. They can, they've only got so much money in the pot, and buying a little bit of fuel, even though the fuel is more expensive, they're buying it a little bit each week. Whereas buying these road user charges, they may have to buy, I think the minimum you can buy is 1,000 kilometers. And obviously you pay a premium, you pay more per kilometer, the smaller the denomination. If they've got to pay $100 or $200, whatever it is, I don't know, for 1,000 Ks. I think for the Ute, the last time I bought some for work, for 20,000 kilometers, I was buying 20,000 K chunks, was $2,500. $2,500 for 20,000 kilometers. So it's quite expensive. The pie's ready, by the way. I heard the ping, so we'll go and get that in a second. J Funk, agree that electric cars have some network problems, but at least those batteries can be recycled, unlike the 100,000 litres of petrol that can't be. Agreed with you completely. They can be recycled, yes. Unfortunately, at this point in time here in New Zealand, and I can't speak for other countries, although the UK has popped up as well, we don't have the technology on a big scale. We don't have the technology, and we don't have the capacity to recycle those battery packs. That's the problem. I'm not saying that they can't be recycled. We just don't have the technology or the capacity here in New Zealand to be able to recycle them. That's a fact. I go Zabrowskis. I will never go for electric. I have no money for it. My best choice will be a petrol one with LPG only. Only one disadvantage, the tank which is put in the car. But the price of LPG is half of petrol. Well, that's good. Yeah, the initial cost of converting the car across to LPG is expensive. Years and years and years ago, the government in the UK, I think they gave £5,000 towards an LPG conversion. And at the time, LPG was really cheap. And then once they got a few cars, a certain number of cars on board and converted, they then whacked up the tax on the LPG fuel. Can't win. You're not there to win, you're there to pay. John Nuttall, Manchester Evening News reported driverless pods could take people from Bolton Town Centre to hospital along a disused railway line, Bolton Council. That's pretty cool that they're going to plan to use a disused railway line. I mean, that's already infrastructure that's already in place. Yeah, and that's great. I don't have a problem with that. J Funk, yes, I sold my small diesel hatchback this year for a petrol snail SUV because by dropping IUC charges, the annual cost was actually cheaper for me. There you go. It does make a difference. Igor Dabrowskis, our government financed charges are costing 50 cents a minute, and the cost continues to grow even when you are fully charged but have not unplugged the socket. Is that right? They still keep charging you even if you just plugged in but not drawing any current? Wow. That's terrible. If you've got to have to go get a burger and come back, you know, I suppose their argument is you're still parked in the space. You're preventing them from making any more money because nobody else can park there. But hey, that's pretty harsh. So, you know, if you were 10, 15 minutes late getting back to your car, not good. When I was looking at last year for a small van, almost got an old Peugeot 1.9 diesel, excellent engine, that will run on vegetable oil. Yes, like many of the old Mark 1 Discoveries in the UK. Just don't forget to put some lubricant, the special additive, in the vegetable oil. Otherwise, you'll be buying fuel pumps on a regular basis. Right, let's go and get the pie. 3, 2, 1, boom. Wow, that was a pretty, you know, pretty ad hoc discussion on EV cars. I could do a proper video on it, really, couldn't I? I'm sure I'd get thousands and thousands of views, but, you know, it's not something I do. There's plenty of other people doing that. Right, the pie. We saw a crack in the lid. It's now bigger. Okay, back to the bench, that tripping over the planer. Boom, 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 boom. We'll stick that on there. That's about the only clean thing in the workshop at the moment. Turn you around, 3, 2, 1, boom. Yeah, interesting stuff, the old electric car thing. I mean, there's obviously going to be problems and stuff. And I think, you know, for some people, great idea. Really great idea. It works. For me, I tow a lot. I travel a lot of kilometers. I'm always pushed for time. It doesn't work. I cannot, for 1 minute, see it working. And on a regular basis, you know, I see cars parked being charged up. And people sat in the car reading a book. I don't have time to read a book. I need to get going. I've got places to be. I've got schedules to stick to. You know, my stop at a petrol station is probably 10 minutes, maybe 15 at an absolute outside if there's a bit of a queue, you know, to get a coffee or something. I need to get going. I don't want to be hanging around a petrol station for half an hour, you know, and this culture of just topping the battery up on your car by 20% to get to the next charger, or 50, or you know, 30%, 40%, whatever it is, just putting enough in to get you to the next charger, and then you've got to stop again and put a bit more in and then stop again. You know, you're introducing a lot more variables to your journey because, hey, what if the next charger doesn't work? You don't have enough, or you may well not have enough to get to the next. I wouldn't dream of pulling into a petrol station in the Ute or any vehicle that I'm driving and putting, oh, you know, I've got 100 Ks to do. I'll put $15 of diesel in or $15 of petrol in to get to the next town, and I'll put some more in when I get there. I mean, people would think you were absolutely stark raving bonkers if you did that with a car, you know, with a normal car. But with an electric car, it seems to be, well, that's what we do. And I just can't get my head around it. I just want to charge it up 100%, and then I know I'm good. Otherwise, I'm just wasting more time. Right. Enough about electric cars for now. Here we go. There's the pie. We've got, hello. We'll start there. Any more problems? Oh, we've got a little bit of a breach down the back there. Look on that corner as well. The base is pretty good, solid. The lid, yeah, can't go wrong. Puff pastry again on top, so it's not ideal, but you know, it'll only contaminate the bench. Right, we're going in. Feels pretty hot. So, for those that have just joined us, we have a Bake Shack, steak and mushroom. I do like mushrooms. One of the things that I don't like are cold mushrooms. And one of the things that we score these pies on is how tasty they are when they're cold. So, having mushrooms in will definitely, for me personally, pull that score down. But we're going to be covering 12 other aspects of this pie as well for scores, so it's not the only thing. The lid has now cracked. We've got a huge crack down there, right down the middle, which is a bit weird. Oh, there you go. Oh. Might end up with 2 halves in a minute. Where do we get to? I think Simon, I mean, I know in the UK you get pinged for running red diesel, obviously, because you're avoiding paying tax on that. That's the agricultural diesel in the UK. What's the legality of running vegetable oil as a source of fuel for a car? From my understanding, and years ago, when we had the off-road centre, when we had the Suzukis, the little petrol Suzukis on the fleet, I rang through to the government department that looks after all that kind of stuff. And I said, hey, you guys do red diesel. You allow red diesel for farmers because the vehicle's been used in an off-road environment at a much reduced tax level. There's a lot less tax on the fuel on red diesel. I use petrol-powered vehicles in an off-road environment in a forest. Can I get some kind of compensation or rebate on the tax that we pay on the fuel? And he said, no, not at all. No, it's petrol, it's full tax. And he was really adamant, this guy. It didn't sound particularly old, but he was really adamant. He'd be old now, obviously. And I said, well, okay, what if we use a different fuel? What do you mean? Well, let's say, just for theory, and I was sort of prodding the guy a little bit. What if we're able to run the vehicles on water? And he went, water? I said, yeah. You know, I watched the Tomorrow's World program years and years ago, how a guy over in Africa or somewhere was able to make some kind of fuel from or petrol from a crop. And I said, look, you know, just for theory, you just told me that it doesn't matter what fuel we use in the vehicle, you because it's been used on the road or it's going into a vehicle, the government's legally entitled to charge tax on it. So what if we use water? And this is really close to electric, right? Because electric comes out of the wires in your house, and so does water comes out the pipes in your house. So I said, you know, if we use water, well, if you're using water, we'll have to charge tax on the water because it's a fuel for the vehicle. I said, what about coal? Said, yep, coal. If you have a coal-powered car, we'll be charging you tax on the coal. And I'm like, wow. So you're going to charge your tax on the water. I said, well, how do you know how much water I'm using in the car? And it got a bit silly to the conversation, and he did cut the call short. But it proved a point that the government, irrespective of what fuel you use, the government wanted to create a revenue, an income stream from whatever fuel it was that powered that transport. That was the point. They wanted to tax transport. It just so happens that it was petrol and diesel at the time that was being taxed. So that was an interesting point to dig down to. So yeah, it is. Yeah, I think based on that, if Mr. Government was to find out, or you declared, Simon, that you're using vegetable oil in your van, in your diesel van, as a means of fueling the van for transportation, they would be fully entitled to tax you on it, which is just bonkers, isn't it, really? I mean, good luck with that, Mr. Government. I go as a broskies. That was hot. My brother had a Mark II Audi 80 1.6 diesel. Audi 80s were like battleships. They were great. Very dependable car. 1.6 diesel. We drove it on the oil. what is put in the big electric transformers. One downside, it starts to freeze at -5. Wow. So you use the oil out of the transformers to actually as a fuel in the car. That's initiative for you, isn't it? I take it he had a legal right to the oil, or did he just go around draining the oil out of transformers? Hilarious. Simon, you can run vegetable oil, run red cat litter, and it comes out clear, just saying. Oh, what do you like? Run red through cat litter and it comes out clear, just saying. Yeah, that's a bit of a trick, isn't it? We shouldn't be telling people that. Oh, McDonald's use their used cooking oil in their trucks. They must have to pay tax. Hang on, I've got to keep moving it around. Pay tax like diesel. Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? If they've declared it, you know. Who knows? But why wouldn't you? You've got to get rid of it. You've probably got to pay to get rid of it. So why not recycle the oil and use it as a fuel for your trucks? Great idea. You know, save the environment. Igor Dabrowskis, a close relative of his girlfriend, was a technician on the Transformers. Had very often spare 200 litres of oil. Brilliant. It's all about who you know, isn't it? I would never have thought of using transformer oil as a substitute for diesel fuel for a car. That is fantastic. Right, I'm busy munching the pie away, not scoring. So, taste stroke flavour. I have got into the heart of the pie. Sorry, I've not been showing you the pie. There you go. We've still got a bit of a crack in the middle. The meat's pretty good, actually. I just had a nice big chunk of meat there and it was quite tasty. So taste stroke flavour, I'm going to give it an 8. I think it was all right. Structure Foley partners, it's not great. We won't score this just yet, but we've got a big crack down the middle. We have that crack at the front and there's a bit of a problem at the back as well. So it's not 100%, that's for sure. Runnability test. Okay, we're about halfway through the pie. Let me just tilt it over. 45 degrees, 30 seconds. Keep our eye open for anything dribbling out. Doesn't look too bad, does it, really? It's sort of pretty stable. I mean, the mushrooms could be a detriment to this, couldn't they, really? But yeah, an hour and a half already. Holy shit. I think it's all right. It's pretty stable. I'll give it 10 for that. Runnability, boom, 10. Meat quality. Well, the last chunk I had was really good, so let's have another bite. It's all right. I'm going to give it an 8. No, I'll give it a 7 actually. I think 8's a bit high. I'll give it a 7 for the meat. Now, again, all these scores could change as I munch my way through the pie. Pie to crust ratio. Okay, let's see if we can just peel that bit back up so you get a good idea of what's going on in the pie. Okay, so we've got quite a chunk of pastry around this side here, and again up there. Normally, the normal thickest area of pastry is around where the lid joins the base. It's quite thick as the base. You can see you've got this crusty layer here, and then there's a good 4 mil of pastry above it. So all up, probably 6 mil, maybe 7 mil of pastry on the base, which is quite a lot to what we've seen on other pies. There is quite a lot of pastry compared to the volume of content, the cross section of contents inside the pie. So that's going to be detrimental to the score. I'm going to give it a 4. Actually, looking at that, it's not brilliant. There's a lot of pastry over this side and not a lot of filling. Oh, first burp. Remember that one? Now, availability logistics. Bake Shack are available a lot of the dairies around New Zealand. You can also buy them in supermarkets as well, in which case you can therefore buy them online. You can't eat them straight away. You've got to warm them up like I've done this morning. The ones in the dairies are normally in the pie warmers, so they're good to go. I'm going to give it, I'll give it an 8, I think, for that, because, you know, like I say, you can get them online. Pastry taste rating. Well, this big chunk here will do nicely. It's a bit dry. It's a little bit burnt on the outside, but that's probably my pie warmer, so we won't count that. It wasn't burnt before we warmed it up. It probably could have done with 2 or 3 minutes less, actually, this one. It's not great. I'll give it a 4. I think 4 for that. Still tasty when cold. I'm going to address that a bit later on. Now, packaging design. It's a paper bag, which is it plastic lined? No, there's no shiny sheen on the inside. It's not plastic lined, I don't think. It's just normal paper. It's quite a distinct design. It's really obvious when you see a Bake Shack pie what it is, with those little fans, the little lines around the logo. There's a bit of information on the rear as well. Their blurb is, why does this pie taste so awesome? Because it's been made the old-fashioned way, using the freshest natural ingredients. We hope you enjoy eating it as much as we enjoy making it for you. Well, that's a testament straight away, isn't it? So, packaging design. One thing I have noticed is a lot of the ink is coming off the paper. I mean, you can see that very well on the camera, but it's all the ingredient stuff's rubbed off, which is quite important for some people. You know, might be something on there that they're not allowed to eat. So, what do we give them? Single colour, paper bag. I'll give them a 6. Let's give them a 6 for that. It's not great. It hasn't got a window. You can't see what you're buying. Right, a bit more of a bite. Now you see we've got a bit of a blob in the middle, which is not good. That could be a catastrophe. Recyclable score. It's a paper bag. It's fully recyclable, and they tell us it's fully recyclable. 10 marks. Good job, Bake Shack. I've obviously been watching the live streams and realised it's worth a lot more points. Wow. That was a big chunk of meat. Wow. We found all of it. That meat was pretty good. What do we give meat quality? 7. It might go up to an 8, surely. Post pie heartburn, we've already lost 1 point. Stuffability score, too early to tell. Pie server attractiveness, Mrs. Mechanic said 5. Okay, didn't say any more than that. I have no information. She just said, nope, it's a 5. Luckily, I did clean the bench first. Right. There's a lot of shrapnel. By shrapnel, I mean puff pastry all over the bench. It's pretty horrendous. So, Structure Foley Partners. It's not the best pie. We've got a bit of a failing going on. It's that center crack has continued all the way now to the other end of the pie. And, you know, you can see we've got a bit of an issue going on. So I'm going to eat this bit first. Good pie management. So as I bit into that, this whole piece tried to break off. If I hadn't been aware of that, it could have snapped off, allowing the contents of the pie to flow out onto the floor or my lap if I was driving the car. Not that I eat a pie while I'm driving, by the way. Obviously, I'd be pulled over, parked, engine off. But the pie contents, the bit of steak, could be sat on the seat or on my trousers, and that would be really bad. Okay. We've resolved the problem. We've eaten it. The problem is now gone. We're now back to a single piece of pie. So, Structure Foley Partners. Quick summary. We've got the puff pastry all over the bench, all over my trousers, all over the floor. Mr. Ratty will be really happy. It's been a two-handed pie, that's for sure. It's going to get a 4. It hasn't flowed. It hasn't just like, you know, there was one or two pies about in the past which have just disintegrated, and you've pretty much got to eat them in the bag and then tear the bag open at the end and just lick the bag clean. I'm not, that doesn't float my boat. I'm not interested in that kind of stuff. It's horrific. Still tasty when cold. Well, as you can see, it's got a ton of mushrooms in there. I hate cold mushrooms. And you might like cold mushrooms, but I'm the one scoring the pie. So, still tasty when cold. If I found this in my glove box 2 or 3 days after buying it and gone, I'm hungry, would I consider eating this pie? No, I wouldn't, because it's got mushrooms in it. I'd have to warm it up. So I'd have to wait till I got home, by which time it could be 5 days old, and I'd be a bit dubious eating a pie that's 5 days old. So, still tasty when cold. I'm going to give it, because it's got the mushrooms, I'm going to give it a 4, because I can think of other pies which are more disgusting to eat when they're cold. You know, I can probably try, I could probably get beyond the mushrooms, to be fair. But it wouldn't be ideal. I'd be more inclined to pull up and go and buy a new pie from somewhere. That was a multiple bite, by the way. If I'd just gone for the one bite, some of the contents would have spilled out. So, not good. Right, all we're waiting for now is stuffability score and post pie heartburn. Post pie heartburn is down to 9 already. Stuffability score, I don't know. I've not eaten it all. So let's get it finished off. There you go. The last bit. Probably the last time I'll ever eat a steak and mushroom pie from Bake Shack. Not saying it's a bad pie, but the structure was pretty crap. That's the one, my one take, is it just pretty much fell apart. Okay. So, post pie heartburn. I can't feel any more burps going on. It's gone down pretty well. One burp, so it's down to 9. Now that score may well change later on. You know, once we finish the live stream, if all of a sudden I get a lot of heartburn, I'll be straight in and changing that score. Stuffability score. Am I still hungry? No, not really. And from a taste perspective, it was a pretty good pie. It just required quite a bit of pie management to keep the whole thing together. We've had worse, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't great. We've had a lot better in the past as well. So, stuffability score, 8. We're down to 8. Bake Shack. Stuffability score is going to be, I do feel, oh, another burp. We're down to 7. It's starting now, actually, pretty quick response. Stuffability score, am I stuffed? I don't have anything else to eat. I'm a little bit, in fact, if anything, I'm a little bit overstuffed. I'm going to pull it down to 8. Okay. All the scores are in. Let's do some arithmetic together. Right, turn around, 3, 2, 1, boom. There we go. Okay. This is where you get to check my arithmetic for me. Because don't forget, it is Sunday morning. All right, we'll just hold it down there a bit. So, can you see that? I think you can just about see that. This was Simon Rawls' idea, actually, to use some tape down here many years ago. And it's still the same bit of tape, Simon. It's still doing well. It's done probably well over 100 pie reviews now. I haven't counted them. I should count them. Anyway, so we've got 12, 24, 31, 35, 43, 47, 51, 57, 67, 74, 82, 87, I believe that pie got. I do need to buy a new pen. Right, 87. If I'm wrong on the adding up, then let me know on the arithmetic. So we have got, sorry camera, just going to steal that bit. We've got a Bake Shack. And it was a steak, a mushroom. So the pen starts to work better when it's done a bit of work. There we go, Bake Shack, steak and mushroom. And we gave it 87. So it's not the best score, unfortunately. Bit Fawley Party. Okay, so where did they lose most of their points? Come on, Bake Shack, this is for you now. Well, Structure Foley Partners, then he got 4, which is a very low score. And pastry taste rating, the pastry didn't taste very good either, to be honest with you, so it got a low score there. Still tasty when cold. My personal preference is I don't like cold mushrooms, so again, it scored pretty low there as well. Packaging design, it's not, you know, it's not going to rock your world, put it that way. And they did lose points because some of the ink had come off, which is also actually quite bad, because if it's there for a reason, right? And they could employ somebody that's slightly more attractive, and then they'd earn some more money. That's at bakery level, though. That's not the manufacturer. So, 87 it is. Let's have a wander across and see where we end up on the list. Dum, 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 dum. 87. 87. Oh, what's that doing in there? 73? That shouldn't... Oh, a sausage roll. I'll deal with that later on. Right, 87 is going to be just underneath. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, that's Oxford Pie's beef and cheese roll. That's right. That's a different thing altogether. So, 87 is right down here. So I'm going to stick you on there, look. So I've got 2 hands. So we'll just scoop those down a bit. And we'll stick him in there. Oh, look at that. It's exactly the same score as a Bake Shack steak, egg and bacon. Wow. At least he's pretty consistent on making a pretty bad pie, really. Because, you know, all in all, it's pretty low on the list. There's a lot more pies out there which are much better score. All the way up there. Shut the door. You know, there's a few things they could get right. They could do a lot better, and then they'd score a lot more, wouldn't they? Yes. Not ideal. Right. Back to the bench. One last cigarette, and then I've got to get some work done. Because this live stream is going on for ages. we got enthralled in the EV world, didn't we? Which was interesting, to be fair. Right, I have got a ton of pastries to tidy up. And there's so much of it, I don't really want to put it on the floor. So where's the bag? Bear with me, people. There we go, that's better. I feel better now for not putting all that on the floor. Okay, a slurp of cold coffee. Mrs. Mechanic hasn't brought me fresh coffee, which is, I'm going to have words. It's not good. John Nuttall says, hit the like button, people. We've got 23 viewers right at this second, and we've got 18 likes. So 5 of you do not like what I'm doing, but you're still watching, which is weird. If you don't like what I'm doing, you can always hit the dislike. For some reason, YouTube just seemed to count the likes and dislikes as exactly the same when it comes to promoting the video. I don't really get that, but anyway. Oh my word, hang on. Steve Rob Reviews. Morning, Steve. How's it going, matey? Welcome back. Hey, Andy. We pay a carbon tax on every source of energy plus a sales tax on the carbon tax. What? It's sold as an environmental tax, but we all know it's just a tax grab. Any excuse to bring some more money in, right, Steve? I agree with you completely, because at the end of the day, the money that they get, do they really spend it on the environment? Does it really help? Or is it just their way of trying to curb people buying that stuff, reducing the amount of stuff that's bought in an aim to try and help the environment a little bit, but also fill their coffers at the same time. Simon, it's very funny how tax money fixes the environment. It is. There's no direct link, right? Money in a bank account, it's got nothing to do with the polar bears. They don't benefit from it. George Bonnie 90, my question usually is, would you buy that pie again? I don't think so, to be honest, George. I don't think I would. I think there are many much better pies around. I mean, put it this way, if it was the only one in the pie warmer and I was hungry and I happened to be there at that time, then yes, I would, because it would fill a gap. It would satisfy a need. It would do the job. Oh, hang on. It sounds to me like we've got a fresh coffee. Hang on, honey. I'm on my way. Yes, the side door on the workshop is slowly starting to fall apart. It's going to need to be replaced. It's dropping on the hinges and the wood's pretty shot as well. So, see, another burp. I wouldn't buy that pie again. There you go. Still got the same mugs. Unless I had to buy it, you know. I mean, if I was really hungry and I didn't want a crappy old soggy sandwich, it would do the trick. And that's about as good as it gets. It's not getting any kind of, it wouldn't get a recommendation from me, that's for sure. Purple Monkey 1974. Gonna need another cabinet. Burning out of space there. I know. We're gonna need more room. Or we just, I don't know, put the other ones on the inside. Anything below, I don't know, below 75 goes on the inside of the cabinet. It's not even considered. We'll see. Or maybe down the outside. There is the end of the cabinet as well. We could maybe start to use that. Virginia Governor, what is the bottle on your work table? Do you mean, Virginia, do you mean this? And I'll wait for the comments. So just give me a yes or a no. And if not, give me some idea of what other bottle it might be. I can't think there's any other bottles around, so it probably is that one. And if we'll move on. Hang on. Simon. Well, last live before Santa. Yes, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas with your loved ones around you. Thank you, Simon. Yes, there will be another live stream for sure. I think it's going to be New Year's Eve, isn't it? What the hell? My New Year's Eve. It won't be your New Year's Eve. Where's the calendar? So we do it every 2 weeks. So yeah, 31st. So for most people around the world, it'll be their 30th, which will be a Saturday, which will be my Sunday. So we will we'll definitely do a live stream, 8:30 a.m. New Zealand time on New Year's Eve, 31st. So I'll see you there for that one. Thank you for that, Sam, for reminding me to tell people when the next live stream was, because I always forget. I tend to do a live stream every week if I'm on the road, every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. New Zealand time. But when I'm in the workshop at home, it's every other weekend. So it at least gives me a bit more time to get stuff done, because end of the day, it's 20 past 10 in the morning. I would have lost at least an hour and a half, if not 2 hours of workshop time now, as of right now. Oh, there you go, but Jane. Okay, it's wood glue. It's not just any wood glue. I'm told that this is the best wood glue in the world. How's that? Bit of Clarkson for you. Yes. I was going to say what a machine, but I can't. What a wood glue. There you go. So we'll find out. I mean, you know, it's supposed to be really good. So I'll have to follow all the instructions and we'll see if it is really good. I can't say whether it's going to be the best in the world or not, because I don't really use wood glue, so I don't know. But it's been highly recommended to me, and it's not cheap. I mean, for Jane, just to give you an idea, because obviously you've just picked up on that, basically $70, including tax. $70. $70 for some wood glue. I mean, it's nearly a litre, and I probably won't use all of it. But even so, that's quite expensive for glue, right? Vijayant, wishing Andy and crew a very happy and blessed Christmas. Thank you, Vijayant, and the same to you, sir. Okay, crew, we're down to the last few dregs. If you would like to, if you've got any more comments, anything you want to ask, now is the time. Otherwise, we're going to sign off very shortly. Oh, Connor K, click the like. Thank you, Connor. Appreciate that. So today being Sunday, we've got the plan of attack is Mrs. Mechanic's going to clean up the workstation 1, ready for painting this afternoon. I've got an ROV to finish servicing. Next week, I have to go up to Auckland by the looks. Well, I have to go up to Auckland regardless because I've got an ROV to take back and another one to pick up for servicing. And it's got to be serviced and back to the club before New Year's Eve. So I'm going to be against the clock on that one. Hopefully I've got all the parts in stock because I can't get any parts over the Christmas period. I did boost my parts stock before Christmas, so fingers crossed we've got everything we need. Other than that, admin. The good news is all the filming that I've been doing for work, which is a handover video for ROVs, I got an email on Friday to let me know that the first draft edit should be ready for Monday. I can't share it with you, I don't think. But it probably will end up on the Yamaha YouTube channel, in which case I can direct you there at some point once it goes live and you can have a look and give me some feedback, because very different kind of video to what I make for my YouTube channel, obviously. My word, we've got loads. John Dwyer, One Little Lady's video is out. Oh, John, you saved the day. Yes, Mrs. Mechanic has just launched part 2 of the Suzuki Carry Epic Adventure Return Home. And it's a good video. She spent a long time editing that one. The graphics are fantastic. Makes me look like an idiot. It really does. She's getting really good at that kind of stuff. And I'm going to ask her very nicely and probably pay her some money to make me a new intro for the Andy Mechanic videos. The one we've been using really hasn't changed for quite a few years, and I think it's about time we spruce it up. So at some point, early part of next year, we should start to see a new intro and a new credits on the videos that go out. And I can't wait, to be honest. I've just got to go through all the rushes and pull off some nice stuff to use, some more recent snips to put in there, you know. Vijayant, $70 for wood glue. Wow, I know. Wow. Bank manager went, wow, that's expensive. George Bonnie 90. Later, gents. Merry Christmas, everybody. See you, George. Well done, matey. See you next time round. And thank you for joining us. Igor Zvrelskis. Clear Berets 501 PUR is very good. Okay. I've not seen that for sale here, but to be fair, I don't really look for wood glue when I'm buying glue because I don't really buy glue. Simon, time for Mrs. Mechanic's new video just went up. Get yourself over, crew. There you go. Great segue. Go and check out One Little Lady and Co. YouTube channel. I'm sure you've got the link by now. New video up. It's a cool video. Give us some feedback. Give her a thumbs up. And if you can, maybe share the video because she doesn't get very many views at the moment. And it is a new channel for YouTube. It takes a lot of effort to get a channel off the ground. And she doesn't make any money out of it. She does it for you guys. And she had a fantastic time. It was a hell of a trip. All on her own in the middle of nowhere. I mean, that's brave, right? She did a great job. Actually driving a vehicle that she knew nothing about and didn't know the history of it. We didn't know if it was going to break down or not. It could have easily broken down. Igor Zoroskis sent you a picture. Ooh, Igor, we'll get rid of the cigarette. That's almost gone out anyway. Quick picture before we sign off. Oh, there we go. Look, that's the glue. So if you're looking for wood glue, Igor recommends that as a good wood glue for gluing wood, basically. There you go. 501 PUR. 20 minutes open time, it says, I think. Yeah. And it's got a chain. Kilbert adhesives and coatings. Best before 2019. Okay. I don't know how good that's going to be. It's a little bit out of date, I guess. But good point, though, and it's good to have that feedback. Thank you. Simon, done that one. Igors sent you a picture. Purple Monkey, last one for the day. I've subscribed to her channel, Purple Monkey. Thank you very much, mate. You'll make her very happy. So if you've not already subscribed to Mrs. Mechanic's channel, which is One Little Lady and Co., get yourself over there. Click on the subscribe. Make her day. All right, crew. I will see you 8:30 a.m. on New Zealand time on my New Year's Eve. See you then. Cheers. Over and out.